I feel like I haven't done one of these in a while, and I always feel like I say that when I talk about my reviews, because I feel like I do these the least, but I think I probably do them the most out of my videos. But anyway, I feel like I haven't done this one in a while because, like I said, everything in August was pre-filmed, and I'm just getting back into filming. So I feel a little rusty on everything, even my wrap-ups and whatnot. So here we go with another book review, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Reliant by Dr. Patrick Johnson. Ambassador International Publishing reached out to me and asked me if I would like to receive a copy for review. I said yes, so here is my free and honest review. This was sent to me for a free and honest review, so here we go. When the dollar in the United States collapses, there is widespread panic and rioting and looting, and a family is caught up in the turmoil. 19-year-old lovesick Sophie is left in a chaos of events to take care of her 7 brothers and sisters, and she is separated from her parents as well as her fiancé Adam. Sophie and her siblings try to seek out refuge in the wood and survivals in the wood, wondering why would God let this happen to them. When Sophie and Adam are reunited, Sophie finds out that he has joined some of the looters and the rioters and is questioning who this man is that she met. The group also captures a thief, which opens up a whole new bout of questions and debates as to why God would let certain things happen. This book basically is constantly asking is, why would a good God let these things happen to us? And that, I think, even today, in a lot of the world events right now, as per filming of this video, Irma is hitting Florida. We just had Harvey go through. Most of California, Washington, and Oregon are on fire. BC is on fire. And it feels like, why would God let these things happen? And a question that I'm sure a lot of people are asking right now. The faith elements for this book were completely on point and 110% biblical. I had absolutely no problems or questions or hesitancy with any of the faith elements. I think they were all really, really well executed in here, and I really enjoyed them. And they didn't always answer that question as to why God allows these things to happen, because sometimes there is no answer for these things, but it just opened up a lot of questions and just relying on your faith and on God to supply your needs. I found Dr. Patrick Johnson's writing very engaging, and it pulled me in, and I really enjoyed the writing. I also really enjoy survival stories, so I was really pulled in because of the survival aspect that this family had to go through. There were some aspects of this book that actually caused me a lot of stress reading this, because I don't like chaos books. I don't like I read dystopian, but I don't like end times, chaosy, very realistic dystopian books, if that makes sense. A lot of that stuff really stresses me out, so I don't typically read these, and there was a lot of aspects of this that kind of stressed me out because it was very realistic and very believable. So the writing was really good. The faith elements were completely on point. The characters, I could give or take, honestly, with the characters. Sophie really annoyed me in some aspects. Just overall, she felt very whiny and very protected and very sheltered. And I think a lot of the kids came from that sheltered, stereotypical homeschool family. And homeschool is fantastic. It's just a lot of stereotypes go along with that, and being sheltered is one of them. And so when you get that feeling from characters that they're very sheltered, that kind of plays into that stereotype. So you kind of got this very sheltered feeling with this family. And, you know, just a lot of that very sheltered aspect. So I found the characters very sheltered, very protected, and then they're kind of thrown into these things, and it was kind of hard to watch them develop out of it. It was very difficult kind of getting a development from them, and it was very cookie cutter, cut and dry kind of development, where like you could tell where the story was going to go with these characters. With one of the older brothers, you could kind of tell where his thoughts and where his difficulties and struggles, because he struggled a lot with his faith and taking justice into his own hands and debating, you know, I'm just going to do it because God's not doing anything kind of deal. But you could kind of see where his development was going anyway. And you could kind of see where Sophie's development was going to go with her struggles with Adam, her struggles with her being separated from her parents and taking care of her siblings, and then struggles with her older brother. So you could kind of see where the development was going and kind of guess where the development was going because of the shelteredness of the family, if that makes sense. Now, there was also, like, apparently Sophie dealt with a lot of anxiety and fear, which I did kind of pick up on, but it didn't really hit me as anxiety as anybody in that situation would have reacted the way Sophie did. So until they actually told me Sophie had anxiety, I didn't really clue into it. However, it was really properly handled later on. Because I find with anxiety, especially in Christian circles, instead of being told how to deal and how to cope and how to get through your anxiety, you're told, you're a Christian, you don't need to be anxious. You're a Christian, we do not need to fear. Which is true. We should not be anxious for nothing. We should not fear. We should not have a spirit of fear. But even in those moments come, that's when you're not supposed to use those verses as like a band-aid solution and be like, here, it is fixed. Do not be anxious for nothing. And it's like, okay, that still doesn't help me. And there was a moment in a flashback with her father where Sophie and him are talking, and he's like, you know, I noticed you fear a lot of things. You fear a lot of very simple things. You fear storms and a lot of things. And that kind of hit home for me because I have a lot of very serious and not so serious and very silly fears over very little things. And so I was waiting for this big aha moment, which I didn't exactly get, but I liked the way her father discussed her anxiety with her. And it wasn't so much of, here's the Band-Aid solution, here you go, do not be anxious. It was more, okay, when you are fearful and when you are anxious, cling to the promises and the truths God has given us and focus your anxiety and your fear on that and lay that at his feet. Instead of just like, here you go, you are fixed. You are a Christian. You should not be anxious for anything, which I have dealt with a lot in my life and it has been really difficult. So I like the way that that was presented in here. And I was very grateful for that. Even though it wasn't the big aha breakthrough moment I was waiting for, the build-up didn't really get me emotionally the way I was expecting. It was still nice to read and think, thank you for not throwing on a Band-Aid. I read this book rather quickly. I think I read it within 2 settings. I really enjoy, like I said, survival stories. Also, just the pace and the writing of the story was just, you wanted to know how this family was going to get out of it. Now, it didn't really wrap up all peachy keen, and it wasn't like you could kind of picture everything wrapping up perfectly, and you couldn't really predict what was going to happen next. Even though you could kind of predict the development of the characters, it flowed very well with the kind of what's going to happen next, who's going to happen next, and like where are we going to go from here, and how is God going to provide for us. So the storyline and the pacing and the what's going to happen next kept you kind of going and pulling you into the story. I would give this a clean read recommendation. However, there is one character's backstory in here that has everything they could possibly throw in there for content. In this one character's backstory, there is a person in that character's life who works as a stripper. There is drug abuse. There is elderly and disabled people's abuse, which actually made me very sick reading what those characters were doing to the elderly and the disabled. I was actually just horrified. I was so uncomfortable reading that part. I was so horrified reading that part, and that part did not sit well with me, and I kind of wish that that part wasn't in there. It's like they had to paint these characters the worst type of people they could paint, and they went to all extremes. Like I said, drug, alcohol abuse, substance abuse, friends who are strippers and sleeping around, and then abuse of government aid for taking care of disabled and elderly family, and then abuse of those disabled and elderly family. So it was just everything you could think of in one person's background, which, I mean, a few things to make this person, you kind of get how this person's thinking, but everything. And of course the elderly abuse, like, just, I wanted to gag. I was just so upset reading that. So that is a trigger warning and a content warning. Other than that, I had no problem with this book. It was just this one instance in the one backstory that bothered me so much. And it wasn't like for entertainment purposes. It was kind of their fall from grace, kind of looking at that moment. So, you know what I mean? Like, it just was very uncomfortable and very upsetting to read. So I just want to give you guys a heads up for that. Overall, I gave this book a 4-star rating. Like I said, a lot of this kind of panic and unknown situations and kind of where a lot of panic ensues, like, I don't know, global threats or economic threats or something like that kind of happens. I find really realistic books of that really stress me out, so I don't typically read these. So I didn't give it a 5-star rating because I was pretty stressed out reading this. Also, the background story and some of the content really bothered me, and just some of the shelteredness of the characters and the unrelatability to the characters didn't really put it a 5-star rating. But the writing and the faith elements and the realisticness of it, and incorporating those faith elements into the realisticness of it, were definitely at least a 4-star rating for me. So thank you to Ambassador International for sending me a review copy. I very much enjoyed it. This is also going to be a major motion picture starring Kevin Sorbo, who, if you guys know, he is the professor from God's Not Dead. He was also in Hercules back in the 90s. So he's been in a lot of sci-fi, fantasy, as well as a lot of great Christian films lately. So if the film comes out, you should go check it out. I'll leave a link down below to Ambassador International's YouTube channel. They have a book/movie trailer. It's a trailer for the book that incorporates the movie, so you like see Kevin Sorbo and all the actors in it, but they're promoting the book. So it's a movie/book trailer. So I'll leave that linked down below for you guys to check out. So as always, guys, if you have any questions about any of the books or review on my channel, any of the content, or just any questions in general about the book, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. I will be sure to answer them as best as I can without spoiling you guys. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!